Yes. Huge thank you to Dawn for joining us today. Your reputation precedes you here. Krista has spoken very highly of you. We're excited to learn a little bit about the ranch riding. I will first go over a couple housekeeping items. We have the e-show coming up, so entries are due June 1st, so make sure you get those submitted and your entries done on It's Plain Sailing. If you run into any troubles, just reach out to one of us. The Marty Simper Clinic is this weekend. The venue has changed. I don't know if any of you guys caught it, but it's going to be at the Fitzpatrick's Yard. And there's still some audit spots open, so keep promoting that. And then we are planning for another cool webinar to come up in early June, so stay tuned for any of our announcements on that, and that's going to be with Brian Henry. We will let Don take it away as a little bit of background before I turn it over to him. He's from Cheyenne, Wyoming, a horse trainer there. He has many a judging card from the APHA, Pinto Horse, APHA, NSBA, pretty much any of the acronyms you can think of that are, he's got them. He helped coach the World Games, the Youth World Games with Krista, and he is Krista's biggest fan. And
I put that card in there for you, Dawn.
Wow. Wow. I appreciate that, right? So I think, Krista, do you want to go through these reminders as you have them placed up here?
Yeah, so we are going to go over some of the penalties in the ranch riding classes. So we have some videos that are going to display some of those penalties for you. But it's just a good reminder to remember that just because you see a penalty doesn't mean that that's a terrible horse and rider team. It's just a reflection of that go that day. So that's all that is. But we're really grateful to the people that shared their videos with us.
All right,
Very good. Yeah, I'll take over right there. I always there's always self-promoting in everything you do, and Krista understands that. This first slide here, I just want you to be aware that there can be some very difficult obstacles that you find within the ranch riding. This just happens to be one of our horses and my wife going over a little jump. Not a big jump like you're used to in Ireland, but a little one. But form and everything else still remains the same, no matter the height of the jump. So it's really important. And if you really look at this picture, it's really easy to understand that this is a nice vestibule. The horse is alert, coming forward, has tremendous expression. So I just think it's really an important photo to understand part of that. What you run into in ranch horse sometimes will be a jump, an actual jump. Not a big one, a little one. So I think the primary purpose, and I'm not going to read script, I'm going to tell you what the primary purpose is from my viewpoint. That is a horse that can effectively get out on the ranch and get you somewhere. If it's 10 miles across the ranch, and there are some of those in Wyoming, Colorado, Texas, New Mexico, there's some big old ranches. And I think one of the things you got to keep in mind is that the ranch horse is capable of taking you out across there on a day, be comfortable to ride, and be efficient in everything they do. So at the end of the day, you're not crippled. You're actually able to sit down for dinner. I think one of the important things to keep in mind, especially with the Ranch Row Pleasure, is actually not only can these things get up and down through transitions, but they have great expression while they're doing it. They look like they actually are comfortable to ride and smooth through the transitions. We can move on. Yeah. So I think you can read these. I don't need to read them all to you, but these are the kind of penalties that are allowed in the ranch rail. So as you look at those really quickly, you can tell that, you know, there are minor issues that we have to deal with when we're judging. And as exhibitors should be thinking about, they really need to understand these rules, pre-read them, know the rules. So as you're working with your animal and training on them yourself, you actually understand where you may be penalized. So the ranch equipment. One of the things we really like to see is properly outfitted horses. We're not looking for a bunch of silver. We're not looking for that at all. Just good working tack. It's important, though, that the rear cinch be on these horses. Sometimes breast collars as well, because there could be roping events in the ranch stuff. And traditionally, breast collars are used. Not always. Depends on the conformation of the horse. But rear cinches are really important. And as far as bridles, you can actually ride a snaffle bit with two hands at any age. So if your horse is not ready for an actual bridle, you can still go two-handed in a snaffle bit, Boselle or a regular bridle. A lot of people really like to go to the bridle. And here's a very good picture of a Rommel rein set up. And that, of course, is one-handed with a closed hand. If you want to move on to the next slide.
John, would you explain for us a little bit, like, what's the difference between a Rommel and a traditional split rein, and why is it so common in the ranch?
Right. So split rein is one finger between the reins, two separate reins held in one hand. All right, that's just a basic brief description. And then the Rommel is a closed set of reins with the hand completely around the the reins closed. And typically the tail is held in the offhand, whichever that may be. It doesn't matter if you ride these things right-handed or left-handed. That is not a concern. But the tail is held in the offhand, approximately 18 inches from the other hand.
Perfect.
And that's more, that's more vaquero kind of cowboy, real cowboy style stuff. But a lot of people are using a Rommel rein, but it's important on a closed hand to keep that in mind.
Perfect. And would you just explain a little bit of like what a ranch rail class is and why it's different from the other ranch classes offered?
Right. Ranch rail is a group class where the others are a separate presentation. So on the ranch rail, you may be in there in a big class at a world show. You know, they usually have a cutoff, and there may be 2 or 3, depending on how big the class really is. But the cutoff usually is around 25 head of horses in the pen at one time. And what will happen is there's a walk, trot, lope, and then at least one direction you have to have the extended trot and the extended lope. So it's judged like a standard pleasure class, Western pleasure class. However, this has much more forward in it. It's not a race. It's not a run. It is an extension of the ranch gates. You think that's enough? Or would you like me to expand on that some more?
I think that's perfect. We should watch some video.
Okay, very good. So as these come in the pen, the first thing, this is a trot through the pen at a world show. This is great expression. The horse is at the trot and coming forward. Looks easy and comfortable to ride. We'll get the next horse in here. Another horse with really good expression, kind of slowed there just a little bit. I would be thinking that I need to see a little more forward on that one. And here comes another one. If you notice, the seat is not as quiet as the last two you've seen. This one may be a little harder to ride, maybe a little shorter in stride, and maybe a little rough. Another nice horse, full swing of the leg, average expression. And I think that's probably enough. That just described for you some of the things we look at right away.
Do you want me to move it along to anywhere in the video, Don? I think we've got a full class in this video.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I'm watching horses. You see, you broke my concentration.
I can move it along to anywhere in the video. It's a full class, so.
Yeah. Let's. So what we're seeing here. Let me take a couple more horses. This is another nice horse. Maybe a little down, a little low to start with. And so we'll kick it up and get them up on the rail, and we'll talk about some of the things we see. And it really doesn't matter. Every judge, there are several judges standing in this pen. And I think it's important for the newcomers to understand that this is a world show. These are extremely good horses, and we'll see a little different style, and that's okay, because not all horses travel the same. They travel as you built them and trained them, and their conformation dictates how they move. One of the things we have to be really careful of is that we don't get in behind the bridle. That one was a little back. I don't think it's detrimental to his final placing. But those are the kind of things we look for. The expression here is not as good as I'd like to see. This one also looks a little jiggy and maybe a hard, uncomfortable ride. This one's really nice, really forward. And when I say that, I also include what their legs look like as far are they bending their knees? Are they swinging their legs? Are they fully engaged from behind? Here's one that's right behind the bridle. There he comes out, but I would pay attention to that when I got it up on the rail to make sure that he raised up through his transitions and actually begin to pick his head up a little bit and swing back into the vertical or nose out just a little bit. Thank you, Maddie. You're advancing that. So as we watch these things on the rail at the walk, and they should move with the camera on, we're looking to make sure they're forward. It's definitely a 4-beat walk. That is in the excellent category, the roan horse. This one here that's right behind the roan horse has some expression issues. Ears are pinned. This one is, those ears were not pinned. It was, she was listening to the rider. And you'll see them move their ears around, and that's okay. They don't have to be straightforward all the time, but they just can't be pinned. We would think that there's another that on the right that is not just listening, but has its ears back. So expression issues are important when we judge these things to make sure that the horse is comfortable with what they're being asked to do. This one is looking around with its ears. That's good. And can we move on to maybe a trot or something there, Addie? They are currently reversing them at the walk right there. There we go. There's the trot. So this is just a trot, really forward. Notice how the horses have now picked their faces and their heads up just a little bit. They can be level like the roan horse. We don't want to see them dropped way off. This is very nice. Good swing of the leg. Listening to its rider. What we don't want to do is get this confused with Western pleasure. These horses are much more forward. Very nice. And when I say very nice, I'm talking on the plus side of average, right? So if I say very good, I'm thinking that it is a plus horse. If I'm saying very nice, I'm even going very high, even higher with my impression of the individual. And if you hear me spit out the word excellent, it's as good as it can be. There may still be issues, but it is still in the excellent category in my mind. Yeah, let's get to some, let's lope. As much as possible, these horses should be kept on the rail and not moving into the center of the arena and circling the judges. Gray horse looks like he was a little rough to ride compared to the roan horse behind him. The yellow horse, which we saw coming up the middle, is smooth and going easy. If you can do me a stop right now. Oop. There we go. There we go. It's hard when you pull the stop what appears on my screen, right?
Did you want to go back to a certain section, Don?
No, I think if we can try a stop and let me see what it does on my screen.
Okay.
Just in the lope, if you can get me a horse center screen and pull a stop so we can see what the legs are actually doing. I think sometimes for the novice or those that are first learning this, oh, that was good. That was not good. It's a stop location. Try it again.
Are you looking for like the full extension of a lope, like a straight front leg?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh no, and now we lost it. Oh man.
There it is. It's back again.
There we go. Bear with us. We'll get there.
That's a good one. Just stay right there. Okay. There. You lost it.
I lost you. Okay, we're gonna grab it again.
All right, Patty, just grab something. It's okay.
No pressure.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Leave that alone. Don't touch nothing now, Maddie. So I think it's really important. What a great stop, Maddie. One of the things that you can see is that we're in the left lead and you're actually seeing the the third beat in the lope. The hind foot has left the ground as the second beat all by itself, the right hind. The front leg is coming back to the ground, and we are on the diagonal pair, which makes the third beat. So when you're loping, that's really what's happening. There's 3 beats to this. Now let's diagnose what we see. All right. The left front leg is just flexing forward. There's still just a shade of bend in the knee as it's ready to come back to the ground. So this is a perfect picture for what a 3-beat actually looks like. And if you'll go ahead and let that go, and then we'll move on, you'll see the left front leg strike the ground and be flat. Did you see that? Hopefully you did. There's another good one. Actually, another good one. But again, this is the world level, and most all of these horses will be above average as we see them go around. Okay, let's move on. Typically at local shows, this is probably more of what you'll see. The quality is a little different, maybe a little less, but these horses are still coming forward. And they're being respectful of each other. And I want to say that now so that you understand, if you get to showing this, you really have to be respectful of your other exhibitors in passing and getting around the pen, not to interfere with their ride and to show your ride. So that's really important. But again, this would be a regional type show with more regional type horses.
What do you think of that big Tobiano there? Dawn, isn't that the best one for sure?
Krista's saying that because she's self-promoting, of course. But the Tobiano horse is a nice above average horse. I've judged this horse before, right, Krista?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And he's very willing, very forward, good-minded. I mean, we look at all of this when we see these horses and try to figure out, could we get along with them? Are they what we'd look for on the ranch? And in most cases, like this Tobiano, the answer is yes. He's got good expression. He's walking forward. He's in the hand. He's not trying to escape. He's not looking around. He's not showing any resistance. Resistance is a criminal when you're trying to ride one of these things. If you have to fight with a horse all day long through resistance, they will wear you out. So I think one of the things that we really look for in the ranch horse is that resistance issue. It's difficult to get them shown. And even if you have them on the ranch, they're difficult to deal with all day long. If you have to hang on to one all day long and push him everywhere you go, it makes for a very long day. Nice fluid. Very nice two-handed horse. They're asking for extension now. So as you can see, these horses have moved up at the lope. And when we ask for extension, again, we're not asking them to race. We're not asking them to run, but we're just asking them to open up their stride and push forward. Okay. I think we can move on, Maddie. So this is a ranch riding pattern. I don't believe we'll have all the horses on pattern. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
on this same pattern.
The videos we're going to watch are going to be of several different patterns, but this is just an
Right.
example of what you might see when you open the pattern.
Yeah. So So for example, that's all this is for. Don't expect the videos you see to have them on this exact pattern. But typically in whatever rule book you're working through, they have basically the same patterns with the description of what you're supposed to do, so that when you're showing your horse, you know what the path is to take and the gates and where the transitions are, up and down, lead changes, extended lope, extended trot, stopping, backing. Sometimes in the ranch riding, there'll be very complicated patterns. This one is fairly simple. Okay. And a breakdown of the penalties that you would encounter if you have issues. The 1-point penalties: too slow, over bridled, out of frame. Let me talk about those because I think it's important that you understand those. Too slow means if you were at the extended lope and you really didn't extend, then I'm going to give you a penalty 1. And that can occur in every maneuver, the too slow. The idea here is to penalize people that are bringing horses that do not come forward, that do not fit the mold of the ranch horse, because they are very forward moving. Over bridled. Over bridled occurs when the nose goes behind the vertical. And if it just goes back there for a moment, that's okay. It's some people will take a hold of them and hold them behind the vertical all the time. That's when the penalty starts occurring, and it occurs with every maneuver. Out of frame, and I've rode them, and I'm sure that most of you have rode them along the way. Those horses that when they lope, you just can't put them together. They just lope with their heads in the air and their backs hollowed out. So that's where that out of frame plays. And of course, the break of gait for 2 strides or less at the walk or jog is just a 1 point. Now, if it goes much further than that, then we really will jump right into the 3-point penalty and hand that out as well. If you take the wrong lead or out of lead for 1 stride or less, or 2 strides or less, then it's just a 1-point penalty. The rest of them you can go ahead and read, but we'll move forward and look at some videos, and we'll try to talk about them as they go. Again, additional points, penalty points. Typical score sheet.
Don,
How
would you quickly explain on that score sheet just like what the maneuver box is versus the penalty box?
Sure.
And
Sure.
that flag, Maddie.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what happens in each maneuver is you will get a maneuver score. And like when I'm talking to my scribe, the penalty box is right above it. And I will say penalty 1, maneuver 0. So the penalties will add up across the top and the maneuvers will add up across the bottom. And as you can see there on the right hand, this particular score sheet, I believe it's Krista actually, had no penalties and a maneuver score that ended up at 72.5. So those are 2 separate additions or subtractions going across the top with a final score. If I get an OP, an eliminated maneuver, or whatever that I call the OP on, then that appears out in the OP box. And what I do is start a little tick mark out there, or I have my scribes on this particular score sheet, tick marks out there. One of the things that you got to be careful of, if you end up with an OP in the event, is that horse can still place. We want you to still place because there may be an error in there that gives you an OP, but you cannot place over anybody who did not have an OP.
And the OP is off pattern, correct?
Off pattern, and that can occur by going off, what you would say, directly off pattern. And then there's some other things that cause off patterns as well. If you go back to the, just jump back to the penalty sheet right there. Go back the other way, right there. There is the OPs. Eliminates or adds maneuvers, incomplete maneuver, braking pattern, repeated blatant disobedience, use of two hands except with the snaffler hackamore, more than one finger between the reins or the romail, except in the two rein. Now, I want to be careful. If you don't understand two rein, that means you can have a bridle and a bozalita or bozel, and you may stick all of your fingers in the reins without getting called. It is a transition from the bozel or the snaffle to the bridle. So in that transition period, you can have both headgears on, and you can have your fingers between all the reins. And that's acceptable. That is an old cowboy vaquero way of doing business, coming from a two-handed horse into a one-handed bridle. If you have any questions about that, be sure to ask it.
And Don, would you just explain a maneuver score and how someone gets one score or another in that maneuver box real quick?
Sure. So we score from a plus 1.5 to a minus 1.5 in the maneuver. So when you see a maneuver, I will grade that. Is it correct? That's what goes through my head. Is it correct? Is the trot correct? Yes. Is the trot correct? And is it good, or is it very good, or is it excellent? So good is plus half, very good is plus 1, excellent is plus 1.5. On the negative side, was the maneuver poor, very poor, or absolutely terrible for a minus 1.5? So as we grade a horse on each maneuver, we assign that score to that maneuver box. For example, in the score sheet you're looking at, 0, it was correct. The next box is a plus half. It was good. It was not only correct, but it was good. The next box, was it correct? Yes. Was it good? Yes, it was good. The next box actually is a plus 1. That meant it was a very good maneuver. So that's how we lay that out and ultimately end up with a score on this particular sheet of 72.5. Any questions?
I actually do have a question. I would have held it for the Q&A, but I'll ask it here because it's fitting. Does the maneuver score change based on the class? So like I'm assuming that maybe a green level class, like a plus 1 in a green level class, would not be the same as a plus 1 in an open class?
No, you would be incorrect. Regardless, regardless of the level of the horse or rider, we try to keep that 0 as judges. We keep that 0 always in our mind and go up and down from there. What I need to be is very realistic with a novice or a beginner of where they stand based on the standard. So that score will be, I mean, if you're a plus 1 as a novice, then you're a plus 1 regardless of what group you were riding in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other scoring questions? Okay. Krista?
You done a great job, Don. No questions.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
No, you're good. Let's watch some video. And if anybody has those score sheets that we send in the email, you're welcome to pull these out and start kind of trying your own hand at doing your maneuver scores and catching any penalties you see, because we're going to go through some ranch patterns here.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk them as we go?
It's up to you. If you want to,
or
the
do you-
first one is the world show go. So if you want to talk through the ideal through this one, then on the next ones we can score, because those will have some bobbles.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So right away, I have a first impression of this horse. I think he probably is in the above average range. Looked at that log, met that log head on, stepped over it cleanly, has great expression, has a full swing of the 4-beat walk. Notice the expression, stopping back, very nice, no resistance. Turnaround was very good. Very nice, very smooth transition to the lope. Over a log, no bobbles. Steers, this horse really steers good. Great expression. Beautiful lead change, excellent. Guiding very easily. And now we're up to the extended lope. Notice we have full extension of the limbs and a speed change that's very noticeable. Transition down to the trot, very good. Serpentine, guides well. Very nice, expression was always there. Now we're at the extended trot. Swings his leg flat, neat, and nice. Meets every obstacle with a quick little look. And notice the ears. The ears have not changed very much at all. He is in the game. Now he's going to step into the cattle pen. Does a nice gait. Moves through the cows without any issue. Pays attention to them. Doesn't strike, bite, or get mean. Moves them around. Comes back out the gate. Very good. Nice job. So my expectation on the very upper end, these are the kind of individuals you would see. So they are in that very good range. Now let's stop right there. Now, Krista, are you going to have them score this and I'll just keep quiet?
No, I
Or how
think
do
you
you-
should. I think you should score along with us for this one. So tell us what
Okay.
as if we're your scribes.
Okay. I'll try to put that together for you. So I would call this trot average. He's good. He's coming forward, but I'd like to see just a little more. And I think we're up in the extended. Breaking on me just a little bit. Stopping back was a little crooked. Probably a 0. Side pass, I always look for them to stay square to the side pass and cross their legs. When they're going to the right, it would be left leg, both sides in front of the other leg. Walks over the logs, don't see an issue there. I just kind of think that's pretty average. Good transition to the lope. Looks like you're struggling a little there. Looks like I saw resistance in the lope. and a little bit of a head shake there. That was probably extended to the change, which was good. And the lope is good after the change. Back to the trot. Again, I'd like to see just a little more forward in that. Opened its mouth on the headgear and the turnaround. So I'd probably be a minus on that. Typically, when you look at those kind of things, you want to make sure that they turn around with ease. And when you see a gapped mouth like that, that is a sign of resistance, saying no. Even though she gets the turnaround, the mouth is certainly gapped. So I would be negative there to pull. What would you like to do with that?
Well, this was actually the pattern that I pulled that 72.5 on. So where did you score me?
I scored you 72.5. What did I do on the turnaround? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, you didn't score me on this one in particular. Somebody who likes me a lot more scored me. You probably would have
I see.
70.5.
Okay. Yeah, that the only thing I saw with this pattern that disturbed me at all, there was two things. That left lead lope, I saw resistance, and I saw resistance coming to the change. So I would have been a minus in that left lead lope, minus half. I thought everything else was pretty average. The change was good, might have been a plus half there if I looked at it again. And then the turnaround had a big gap in the mouth. And whenever I see that, that says resistance to me, to the turnaround. Even though he came around, the headgear told me another story.
That's awesome.
Which happened at the left lead lope as well.
That's great. When we can go to the next video, Don, but do you want to, like, as we go into each maneuver, like, give us your maneuver score?
Yeah, as long as I understand I'll call them like I think they're happening, like they probably are written.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I hope you're all warmed up. Oh my God, not this woman. Okay. My first impression of this horse as it comes into the pen is she is coming forward. She's listening. She's getting ready to step off at the trot. There's the extended trot for a +1. There is the transition to the walk for a +1/2. I thought she probably dragged just a little farther than I would like to have seen her in that transition. That is a tough transition, but I still think it's good for a +1/2. The side pass is a +1. The trot transition to the lope is a +1. This is very nice. Great expression. Look at those ears. Now she's stepping up to the extended. Again, a +1. To the lead change. I don't like that. And when I say that, it's correct, but I think it could have been better for a 0. Left lead lope +1. Again, look at the expression. There we got the stop in the back. That's a +1. The turnaround is a 0. The serpentine jog is a +1. That's what she's doing right now, or jogging out, sorry. So did everybody follow along with that? Are there any questions? Because we can watch it again. Krista?
What do you want from me?
Well, we can move on. I didn't know if there was any questions. I didn't see anything. So
Yeah, if anybody wants, you're welcome to turn your mics on and let us know what you thought of that run. Does it get above average for you? You know, it's a great time to kind of ask your questions about the per maneuver. I mean, obviously this is a very nice horse, but there's always something to learn. So anyway, turn your mics on now or hold your peace. And if not, Don, you can just go on to the next video. I think there's 2 more ranch riding videos, and then we move into the ranch trail.
okay.
I have a quick question on this. I think maybe we've talked a tiny bit about this, Krista, only because this horse did it. And I'm sure Bud has some horses that do this too. But the sliding and the stops and the transition, is there kind of a sweet spot where you're like, okay, this isn't a reining class. We don't want that much in the stop and the transition,
Right.
but you know.
Right. So there are 2 places that the transition is very difficult, and so you have to keep that in mind, that we may say, well, they slid too far, or it was okay to slide. So let me explain that the best I can. This was a transition from the extended trot to the walk. That is extremely hard to hit if you got a horse that is really paying attention to the bridle and it's going to make that down transition for you. So we let that slip a little bit. I believe I scored that a +0.5 because she never lost. Even though I thought she slid a shade too far, she never lost forward. If they stop completely and have to be walked out of the stop, and can you back this up and get that there, and I'll talk it when I see it. If they, yeah, just let it run from there because it comes up pretty quick. There you go. If they lose complete forward when they make this transition, then it becomes very poor. This mare does not. Do you see that? She, even though she drug just a little bit, she was walking before she ever came to a stop. So that's still a positive maneuver. See that? See how she really never lost forward? When they stop completely and then they have to ask them to walk forward, then you're actually in a negative condition, and have they broke gait? And the answer is yes, for a penalty 1. So if she had completely, so your score at that point, if she had completely stopped, you would have said, I would have said penalty 1 -1. In this case, because she never lost forward, I said maneuver score +0.5. Okay. And I didn't like the lead change. And when I say that, it was correct, but it could have been smoother, but to get into the plus category, and I believed I called that a 0. And that's me picking on my own wife, by the way.
On the lead change, is there any penalty for a late or early lead change? Because that looked to me like it was quite close to the turn, but maybe it doesn't matter.
Right. In the zone, because remember, we're not riding on cones, and they have to come around the corner and set them up in a narrow arena and then ask for the change and have it be correct. So a lot of them will wait that stride. What that is like a stride or so late because she didn't feel like she had her set up. And in that case, if she'd made that corner, you're certainly in a very negative area, but that did not happen. So again, it's kind of a zone. We're not looking for, here's the point, you better make the change there or you're out. We don't approach it that way. We say, here's the distance, 30 feet, get it done in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we check out the next one?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to try to zoom in on this for you. This is walk to the logs. Very careful. I don't see any issues with that right there. I probably would have been at least a plus half. Good trot to the lope transition. Probably again a plus half. Look at how willing this horse is to be guided. And that is good. That transition was a lope to the extended. We expect to see the trot in between as they gather them and get ready to go. Lope off was good. Change is very good. Extension is good. Shoulders drop just a little bit to the inside. That's stuff that we see. Oops. Whoops. I think we fell out of lead there. Can you back that up so everybody sees that? Oh. So that's out of lead. That was 3 strides. So that is a 3-point penalty. Maneuver score becomes a -1. Did not resist the change back, but changed without being asked. Walk is good. Back, when he asked for the back, he stuck his head straight in the air, so he showed some resistance right away on the back. So I probably would have been a -1/2 there. The turnaround, he's quiet in the face. He's gapping a little bit. I'd probably be correct there for a 0. Does that help? Anybody have questions about that video? Krista?
Someone. Yeah, I guess so. There's during the trot to the left lead lope, after he comes through the diagonal, there's a moment where the horse is kind of bringing his head towards the outside of the gate. Would you call that resistance to drop the maneuver score?
Depends. This horse he's dropping his right shoulder throughout the deal. I mentioned it once in the right lead lope, which he corrected, and when he corrected it, so his head was in, right, and he's dropping his right shoulder on the right lead lope. When he corrected it, he actually changed leads. I think that's what happened there. So probably throughout in a live deal, I would have caught a little more of that, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I only mentioned it one time, and it was during the right lead lope, where I said he was dropping his shoulder, and then wasn't just a stride or two later he swapped, which meant he picked him up and put that inside leg on him, and he changed because he's probably a good changer. I think I called him very good change, right? So he's probably a very good changer. And when he put that pressure on the inside, he swapped out to the left.
And for you, when you say very good, that's a +1 on the maneuver score, correct?
That's why I went over that earlier. So as I'm talking, I won't talk +1, +1/2. I'll say good, very good, excellent, poor, very poor, terrible.
Very good. How about Priscilla? See anything on that pattern? Calling you out now.
Now, what's that?
So Priscilla, who's in this webinar, she's one of my, most people here ride with me, but I was calling her in to see if she had any questions on that pattern.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I picked up the same thing as Krista. I noticed like the little like turn of the head to like the outside. So I did. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, like I wonder if that's picked up. Although it didn't like come to me the first time as resistance, so I was just like, I just noticed it. But yeah, that I picked that up as well.
Good, excellent.
Very good. Thank you. All right, should we check out the next one?
Sure.
Oh, wait, just kidding. That's it. Ranch Trail.
Ranch Trail.
All right.
So one of the things, and I want to say this up front, so in case we have any World Show video clips in here, one of the things that you have to remember that ranch tail is wholly and completely different than ranch riding. It actually runs under ranch trail rules, and there's more penalties and more things to look at than the ranch riding. However, at the World Show level, the ranch riding begins to look a whole lot like ranch trail, only it's more spread out and with lots of extended gates in it. So the two kind of begin to look a little bit alike. So I want to keep that in mind as you go through this. But the idea is that you can get through these courses, and they typically are supposed to mimic everyday ranch life. Now, we know when we bring that in the arena, the ranch life goes away, but the horse should remain the same, right? Again, correct, efficient, and it's a big deal to be efficient in the ranch trail. If you start doing things in the ranch trail, adding little things here and there, that begins to deduct on the efficiency. Again, we're looking for that horse that's really broke, really willing, comes forward, has great expression, and does the job that he's being asked to do. Ranch trail penalties, if you want to read through those, you can. If I see them while we're doing it, while we're looking at these, I'll let you know what I'm seeing. Again, now the 3-point penalties. And notice that the out of lead is more than 2 strides. If we see it for 2 strides or less, we're only going to penalize them 1 point. And most of you guys over there go over fences, so you actually know what refusals are. Off pattern. These penalties are really standard throughout the industry in just about every event. In ranch trail, a lot of the off patterns would be disqualifications in many events. However, this group that rides this, we want to be able to give them a score and not just say disqualified and not score anything else. We want them to be able to look at their score sheets, understand where they made errors, and be able to go work on that. So we call them off patterns, which means they cannot place above anybody else without an OP. And then the disqualifications, of course, they're pretty standard on everything. This is the AQHA Ranch Trail score sheet. They come with the penalties right above them. So as you're looking at that sheet, you can see that if you have a question, you can jump right up there if you see something and know what that penalty is.
And this one is from Youth World, which I think is kind of fun.
Yep. Yeah. So the horse comes right forward. It's really got good expression, engages the bridge, walks over the logs. I don't see anything there that I would begin to even think about penalizing. So I would actually be a +1 on that. Comes across the pen at the lobe. Now she's asking it to step up to the extended lobe. Very good. To the walk, notice not a lot of slide. That was good. You will sometimes have to carry something, so she gets a hold of that. Hangs it on the horse. I believe she's going to probably end up going through the gate with carrying an object. Very good. Through the gate. Notice that she put her reins in one hand to negotiate that. She's riding Rommel. That's fine. There's no problem with that. Across the log. It's breaking on me a little bit, but I think she is actually extending. No. It's just the trot. Puts her package back down. So that whole piece of that maneuver is a +1. I think this is just a shade rushed, but it's still a +1/2. Good crossover, good reaction by the horse, good expression. This is the extended trot through a serpentine. The horse guides very well. So you know where I'm going with this. This is very good for a +1. Down to the trot. Horse is well engaged. Good expression. And to stop with the back. Again, a +1. Steps out of the chute at the lope. It's important to have the lope engaged before leaving the chute. Over the logs. Hind legs got a little tight there on the last log, so I think it's correct, but it's good for a +1/2. So she's going to do a ground try. Stop it right there. You want to stop that? So the reason I stopped that here is because in the ground tie, you can do a lot of different things. What she did was take the off rein and unhook it from the bridle. She could have hung that up. She could have left it on the neck. She could have done just about anything, and there would be just about everything is acceptable. There is no standard attached to how you ground tie a horse. And if you are in split reins, what a lot of people do is drop the left rein on the ground. But that's still not a requirement. You could leave them hung on the saddle. The only thing we'll look for on the ground tie is if they manage to figure out how to put the stop on their horse by the way they hang the reins up so he doesn't fall on. So that is something we watch for. But just about any approach to the ground tie with the reins is acceptable. So there's no penalties there. And we're not looking to penalize this horse for how she did that. Is there any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry. Right. I was wondering about, for this one specifically, because there are obstacles.
Yes.
So obviously some of this is subjective, but only up to a certain point. I'm asking about hesitation. You know, if a horse hesitates, where do you draw the line between this is a problem, this is something that is going to have a negative score?
Right. And it's a good question. So if a horse hesitates and it becomes, I'm going to keep this in mind, right? If I see that hesitation in maneuver change or obstacle change, I'm going to say to myself, is that efficient? Are they positioning their horse? Are they asking him to do the right thing? Is that all part of the hesitation?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, then it's not a problem. If they sit there on that horse and continue to hesitate, I'm going to start to get a little concerned with it, and my score is going to go down. A perfect example is if you watch any of the reining, you will see some of them guys, let's talk about the spin. They will spin them around, they will stop, and there may be a long hesitation before they ask them to go the other way, right?
Yeah.
If we see that long hesitation in the ranch trail, it's a negative.
Yeah.
Right. in reining, what they're doing is trying to settle that horse to ask him to do something completely different. And
Yes,
they're
it happens
so
for a
high-
reason.
Yeah. But if we see it in ranch riding, it begins to affect efficiency. And so if my thinking on efficiency starts to go down, my score will go with it.
Hmm.
So hopefully
Okay.
that's Sorsha, isn't it?
Yes, it is me. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I just, it's something we just kind of got to gauge on the go. And,
Yeah.
and I've seen where people that say they're going to lope off in the left lead out of a, like this girl did on the back. It's a left lead or right lead. I don't remember. If she sits there a long time before she asks that horse to engage, I'm going to get a little concerned of what's going to happen next.
Hmm.
And I'll be looking for an issue.
Yeah.
So by creating a long hesitation, you actually make me not only think it's not efficient, but I'm also going to be looking for whatever the error is that may be ready to occur.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, we can start that back up. So this horse stands really good expansion, attention to what's going on. She goes over, I don't know if it's a bail or what it was over there on the thing, but the horse really never moved a muscle. So that was probably actually in the excellent category for a +1.5. And now he's saying, why you walk so fast?
Now this one you actually have judged and scored before, Dawn, so we'll see if you agree with yourself.
Yeah, well, you never know. So I'm going to call the walk and the walk over the bridge a +0.5. Good. I would have liked to seen a little more forward there. The trot to the drag is good. Is this a trot? Yep. Steps right up. Video's froze. And I'm going to assume that there was no break in there because mine was gapping. So I would say the drag was probably a +0.5. The degree of difficulty on the trot is always a little higher, but it's on an inside pull. So it's hard. You want to stop it right there. Stop the video. And let's back it up to the drag. What happens while she's getting that set up for us in some of these drags, just stop it there. There's two things to keep in mind. Sometimes the degree of difficulty is so low based on the degree of difficulty that you could create in an obstacle that it is impossible to get to the excellent. The degree of difficulty in this log or in this drag, in my mind, is low. It's on the inside, which means the rope never hits the horse's hip for a reaction to what they might do. It's drug on the inside. It can be drug shorter than maybe you should. There's a lot of things that lower the degree of difficulty here. However, it does have the trot. So if I say it's a +0.5 in this particular maneuver that looks like that, that's as good as you can get. Do you understand that, Krista?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with obstacles, there is a degree of difficulty attached to them.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any particular preferences with returning the drag?
You know, I don't want you to leave your neighbor in the lurch, right? So if that drag, you leave it back there 10 feet, I'm going to be pretty negative about what you've just done, because in my mind, you almost haven't completed the obstacle. Yes, you drug it. Yes, you trotted. Yes, you brought the rope back and hung it up, but you never finished the drag. So there really isn't a penalty for that, but it would certainly lower the maneuver in my mind. Okay. Does that make
Perfect.
sense?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
So efficiency is important here. Sometimes, stop it right there. Sometimes you will actually see somebody who drags it short like that, then they turn their horse around and they drag it to position, then they turn their horse back around and they hang up the rope. That is not efficient. So we see that sometimes, and they wonder why they showed their horse doing so much, but that really isn't what we asked for. So they become inefficient in what they've done, and we may leave them at a 0 where they could have been a +1/2. But they changed the maneuver into a less efficient maneuver, so they don't score as well. Okay, we can go on. And now we're trotting. Is there just one log there or two? Or is there 3 or 4? Can't tell by the video.
It's a set of 3, I believe.
Okay.
And I think
So
you
trot
to walk.
Trot to walk. Yeah, trot to walk. Yeah.
And then extended trot, I believe, here.
Yeah. So the trot to walk was probably a +1/2. The extended, what was that? That was a break.
Oh, no.
Back that up. Oh, no. Oh, no. They need to see that. Back that up. We get to pick on Krista.
It's all right. I put myself up to it.
Yeah. So she trots to the lope. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Penalty 3 -1.
Yeah. Pretty much looked just like that.
Yeah. And then to the trot, I think you trotted into a chute and back out.
I believe it's side pass, and then you go on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not as straight as I'd like to see one as she side passed that. But I probably still could be a +1/2 on that.
Oh, okay. I made a face, but
Very,
I think.
okay. Lope to the trot.
And then here
Apparently,
you have to back in L.
yeah. So, I probably would be, I want to be a -1/2 here, but I'm going to stay at a 0. I'm going to stay positive on this. I did not like the way the horse worked through the back, but I had other pieces that I thought were good coming into there. So I'm going to take the average. This is a trotted serpentine with a log. And if you'll back that up to where she comes out of the back, that would be nice. Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop. So one of the things Krista's doing here, because this is her, is she is lowering, all on her own, she is lowering the degree of difficulty by the way she rides into this serpentine. So she makes big swings rather than to come straight down the line. The straighter down the line, the higher the degree of difficulty. So you can change a serpentine into a high degree of difficulty, or you can hold it at average, or if you have issues, you can certainly get below correct. Okay, let it roll.
I just wanted the judges to look at me for longer.
Yeah. See how she swings way out to get around this? So to me, in my mind, she lowered that to a 0. Open in the left lead over the log. Horse is cocked off to the right. I'm not liking this. See him stick his head out. I could easily be a -1/2 on that. Gets around it. So she stays correct, but the horse is showing some resistance. So I could easily be a -1/2 there. comes to the gate, lopes all the way to the gate. A lot of people will end up breaking gait as they come up to a gate and either walking or trotting the last few steps, which will put them in a penalty condition. But she did not do that. She loped up. She handled the gate efficiently, almost there till the end. Horse made her reach a little bit. I probably would have ended up giving that a -0.5. Seeing it today, I don't know what I did back then.
I believe I ended up a 72 on this one overall.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, we had a lot of penalties in there to make up for our less
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive in a video like this, and so when you're judging these things, what you have to be careful of is just because she broke gait and I threw a penalty 3 and a -1 at her, doesn't mean that the rest of the maneuvers are correct or negative. I come right back to positive and I say, okay, I'm in another maneuver. And that's one thing, as you guys learn this and watch it, is that you understand that the maneuver begins and ends, and whatever happens inside that maneuver is not held against you or for you in the next maneuver. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think that's the last of what we have as far as video.
Okay, very good. Oh, and there's my famous statement, right? And
Yeah.
I say this everywhere I go. It's so important that you ride the horse you brought, not the one you want. If you want that world-class world horse, then he should be the one you brought. And you have to ride him like that. And when I say ride the horse you brought, remember what your horse is capable of and how capable he is at it. And don't push him beyond what you know and what he knows he can do. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Any questions?
I have another question.
Sure.
Okay. See, whenever you're talking about the drag,
Yes.
I'm not sure. See, when you are organizing yourself, you've stopped and you're like organizing yourself with attaching the rope to your saddle, before you drag. Now, is it acceptable for your horse to fidget a bit while you're doing that, or does it have to stand absolutely still?
The idea is that he will stand absolutely still.
Mm-hmm.
If your horse starts to fidget and makes what you're doing difficult for you to do, then you've got to understand I'm looking there going, well, that's a negative.
Yeah.
They got to stand quiet and be prepared for what you're going to ask them and not be prepared to go ahead and go on their own.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a demonstration of not well broke resistance to what they're being asked to do. So if you ask one to stand still, they got to stand still. That's all there is to it. I don't.
Okay.
If you're pulling your rifle out of your scabbard or whatever it is, they have to stand still.
Yeah. Understood.
Maybe they don't have to stand still when you start shooting out over the top of their head, but
yeah,
that's a whole nother thing.
Not something that we experience too much here in Ireland.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I forgot. I digress.
Well, and Don, maybe this is a good time to add that isn't it standard across the different breeds that novices and youth don't pull the drag? It's for the open and amateur level.
Yeah. Good bring up of a point. In the novice and the youth, we do not allow them to drag. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't drag in anything else they do, but that day they cannot drag. It is a safety thing. You start asking an 11-year-old kid to run a drag, and maybe they only know the show horse environment. That may be a dangerous condition. So to avoid that, or a novice, to avoid that, we just remove the drag from what they do. Typically, we will hang a rope for the novice or the youth, and it can ride up and pick up the rope and do the maneuver at the trot or the walk, whatever the directions are, and put the rope back up. But we don't put them in a place where they could get tangled up in the rope or the horse spook or, you know, something get out of control. So it's just kind of a safety measure that's installed, and it is across all the breeds.
Cool.
That's great. And then I think if we go to our next slide, it just puts our reminders up again of the things Stock Horse Ireland's coming up. And then we can just move right into a standard Q&A. So hopefully some of you, I don't think we've heard from WRHA yet, have had some questions coming up. And this is your time to just ask Dawn directly about them.
Boy, they're being really quiet.
I know. Oh no, we can barely hear you. Question in the chat. Yeah, if you want to put your question in the chat, then we can read it out for you, hun.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, me either. We'll give her a minute. But anybody else, anything coming up for you? Anything you're curious about? Or any questions about your own horse even? Priscilla, any burning questions? Getting ready for your next e-show? Oh, and Dawn's our next e-show judge, guys. So really, this is your moment.
I guess, do you have any tips for, I think, at my last e-show, a few of, like, my, like, judges' comments were, like, about resistance, with the horse. Do you have any, like, tips on working through that and how to get, like, get the horse to respond easier to what I'm asking him to do?
Yeah, no, I understand the question. So, you know, resistance sometimes appears when a horse is maybe too fresh.
Yeah.
And so my first suggestion is that horse is well rode down before you do your video for your e-show.
Okay.
And wherever the resistance is, you have to know where that is. If you ask him to turn right and he says no to start with, then you know that's something you got to work on. That's something you have to train on, and not just the day of the e-show performance that you're going to video. That's something you got to work on days ahead of time to begin to get that resistance and get him to say, oh, I understand. A lot of times these horses don't understand. They're either too fresh or you haven't trained them properly, and they do not understand how to do that maneuver. Yes, they will do it because you kind of force them to do it, but then the resistance appears because they don't understand. So I would say anywhere, if you review the stuff that you got the resistance comments on, that you work on that stuff weeks in advance, so that if you have resistance, it's very minor, and they begin to understand what you're asking.
Okay.
Do you think Marty can help us with that, Dawn, when we have our Marty clinic this weekend?
I think so. I think just that's one of the topics you want to bring up with him. How do we avoid resistance? What do we need to do differently? And then I think probably he'll look at each horse as they resist and say, well, you need to do this or that.
All right, as we wrap up, anybody else have a brief comment, or we'll let Dawn go here? No? Okay.
No comments?
Needs
so
sorry. I have a quick question.
Okay.
Is it better to be like, I suppose this is for ranch, but I don't show the ranch, so I guess it kind of branches out to other classes too. Is it better to be really snappy in between maneuvers, or have like, not like hesitation, but like a brief moment of pause to like really like define each maneuver?
Yeah, yes, but you still have to be careful with that brief pause. because we read that a lot of different ways as judges, what that brief pause is. In some maneuvers, say, for an example, say you stop, you lope to a stop, and then it's a right-hand turn, a full turn, and you stop and you hesitate a moment. We think that's okay, just a moment. But remember that you're showing against somebody else. And if you extend that hesitation, we think there might be an issue with it, but then you get a good turn. And so the next individual pops in there, lopes, makes the stop, goes right to the turn with no resistance, no hesitation. How would you gauge that between the two? Would you think it was better or worse?
It would be better, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the example that you want to be thinking about. A mild or very short pause is acceptable. But remember, you're riding in a competition where somebody else may not do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So our friend with the mic issue sent me a text actually, and she was wanting
Okay.
to add any tips on remembering patterns. Like, is there anything that you do or you coach your riders to do to help them stay on pattern?
Right. So typically what we do is we ride that pattern in pieces, not, I want to be careful with this, because what happens if you try to ride that pattern 3 or 4 times ahead of time, the horse learns it very quickly and they may beat you to the punch, which may cause issues with the performance. So how do you remember it? Well, I think the best way to go about that, and it is kind of how we teach that, is we teach the pieces and we ride the pieces of the pattern, and then we move on to the next piece. And as you do that, say there's lope on the right lead, stop. So lope on the right lead, stop. We'll do that a couple, 3 times. Then we'll say, okay, let's trot and extend the trot. So then we'll work on that piece. And what begins to happen in your own head, I believe, is that now you know I'm going to lope in the right lead, then I'm going to trot and extend the trot. So as you work on the pieces, you put them in order, but don't put them in order by riding the whole pattern 3 or 4 times ahead of your performance. Ride the pieces and separate them so the horse doesn't figure out what the pattern is. Because that can be an issue, and they will help you when they think you need help. They'll go ahead and lope off in the left lead when you were looking for the right lead. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. And
I think that was great.
Yeah, actually, Krista, you're aware, and I think I did it out there in the clinics. That's exactly how I teach the pattern before we ride the actual pattern. Is we do pieces and we keep putting pieces together and we take little breaks in between, and then it gets so locked into their heads what they need to do that they've learned the pattern.
Yep, that's great. And I actually just got another message that says she loved this webinar and your answer is perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Well, very good. Before we let you go, Dawn, do you have anything in particular you want to say to our e-show participants, like things you want to see, things you'd like them to keep in mind?
Right. So probably the first thing is what we just talked about, is know your pattern and be ready to be efficient through the pattern. Don't add things. Don't do that. Show us the horse that you own, the one you're riding. Don't try to show us something else. And I think you'll do wonderful. And I'll try to make very direct comments. Don't take any of the comments in a bad way. Take them in an informative way. Whenever you're showing, whether it's an e-show, a regular show, no matter what you're doing, they are in support of you. They are not against you. So as you say, we had the question about the resistance thing. My answer was, you got to work on that. You got to train on that. You got to do it ahead of time. So as the comments pop out on the end of the e-show, just keep all that in mind. Those are, regardless, don't take them negatively, take them positively. Understand what you did wrong and try to improve in that area. And, you know, that's the best support I can give you going into your e-show.
That was great, Don. I think I speak for all of us when I say this has been really informative, and really appreciate your take on things. And you and I always tend to be in alignment, so I very much enjoy that. But anyway, so I think this is a thank you from all of us, and we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one with Brian Henry.